Welcome to ThriveSpace, a space where you learn faster. In this tutorial, I am going to teach you the golden rules of layout design so you can make professional and effective graphic designs. Leave a comment below and let me know what else you like, and I will add it to the list of videos for my next content. Okay, grab your PC and let's start. In the first golden rule for layout design, we're going to take a look at negative space, which is sometimes referred to as white space. Now this simply is just the areas on your design. They're not taken up by actual design assets or graphics. It can be used to separate sections of your design, define certain areas, and also allow your design to have room to breathe. Now on the first design, I've made sure to make some common mistakes that designers do embark on. And that is to try and fill out the negative space as much as possible by scaling up my text at the bottom here. Also, I've used a logo of sorts to fill the top half. Now doing this makes the design appear too busy and unorganized. Having a clear separation allows the viewer to look at the design more comfortably, and also obtain the information very, very easily. But let's take a deeper look at my revision. So firstly, the logo is neatly added in the top left, and it doesn't fight for attention and overcrowd the design. The blue area is left with a lot of negative space, which does look neat and also organized. Below that, the text is still legible when printed out on A4 documents, yet there is a lot of space to the bottom right, which gives the design and the text some more room to breathe. Allowing your design to have negative space like this clearly creates areas for specific parts of your design, and this makes the viewer feel more at ease when viewing your design and trying to gather the information from the design itself. So finally, the design uses negative space to create the shapes and going diagonally from the top right to the bottom left. So be sure to pay close attention to the negative space on your graphic designs just as much as the actual graphics themselves, if not more so. Negative space in logo designing is often strictly around optical illusions and creating shapes with negative space. If you want to see more about negative space in logo designs, I have a video linked at the end of this one. Secondly, we're now moving on to why proximity is such an important aspect of layout design. And proximity basically suggests that design elements that are linked in some way or have a relationship should be grouped together. Aspects of your design that do not have a link or a relationship should not be linked together. In most cases, when used correctly, proximity will structure your design, as well as indicate to the viewer certain cues and information. So here is a landing page design. And firstly, you can see a clear divide from the left to the right. The right section here basically has the illustrative artwork, displaying context to design itself. You will not find any key information or called action buttons here, aside from the toolbar at the top. Of course. Now on the left-hand side, the title and the text content is grouped together in a neat manner using good use of proximity. And below that, there is a called action which has its own space and is left alone, which basically frees it up to make it easier to be seen by the viewer and thus clicked. And finally, all of the social media icons are below in their own group. On this left-hand side, we have 3 different groups that all use neat and valid proximity. Proximity and negative space do have a connection, and both should be taken into account when designing something in terms of the layouts. Now, repetition is a key aspect of not only layout design, but just graphic design in general. It helps the design have more continuous theme or look and feel. Repetition can be seen in things like the color scheme used throughout your design for the use of similar shapes and graphics. And here is another landing page design. And what kind of repetition can you see in this example? Firstly, the most striking thing probably will be the color scheme. The color scheme is seen throughout the entire design, from the illustrations into the typography, and even the called action button. Also in the design. You notice that this style of the illustrations and the graphics are of the same kind of style throughout. You don't randomly see a gradient style or 3D graphic. The illustrations are flat and somewhat rustic in nature, all themed around the topic of travel. Repetition is not just about using the same graphics throughout, but think about the same use of typeface, the same use of color, and the same style in general. This will unify your design and make things flow and appear more professional as a whole. The next golden rule for layout design is contrast. And this is something I've mentioned before in this channel. But let's take a quick look to reaffirm the understanding and the importance of it. Contrast simply refers to two design elements or aspects that are different in appearance and nature. To create contrast, you can experiment with color, typeface, shape, and size. Contrast is very useful for creating a focal point, as well as giving objects greater visual weight and balancing the image. The first aspect of this design that utilizes contrast is the typography. At the very top now have the word Satori in a thicker version of the typeface, as opposed to the type saying graphics. This creates interest in the visual aspect of the title. And the next use of contrast is the bottom text here, and this is where the use of red and black is seen, which are two contrasting colors as well as, again, having different thicknesses in a typography itself. And in terms of shape, the circular icons at the bottom are contrast to the straight edge-line shapes that are found elsewhere in the design, giving them intrigue and a chance to stand out to the viewer. The actual image in the middle of the design is slanted on a tilt, which is a stark contrast to the level, straight lines that are horizontal and found throughout the rest of the design. And of course, finally, the entire design utilizes a very contrasting color scheme of black and red, and also white thrown into the mix. Contrast is a great way to create interest and intrigue on your designs, but also it grabs attention and it directs the viewer's eye onto certain aspects of your design. Now, the penultimate golden rule for layout design is alignments. In graphic design, we should always be mindful of alignments, if it's for texts, for imagery, or design elements. In general, you should always look to align your work professionally and not make the rookie mistake of neglecting alignments. On my example, the first part of alignment is the future text in the central focal points. Now you can draw a vertical line and see that this text is centered properly, and next to the bottom, the text information is situated neatly along a horizontal line and away from the print edge by a decent amount of space. And this is to keep the design neat and visually appealing. Now also running up the left and the right-hand edge. I've adjusted things so that the linear graphic in the background now levels up to these text contents on the sides. However, the white circle with a price tag, and I've left this not aligned properly, and this is to make it stand out more. It's okay to break the rules in some sense, as long as the majority of your design does follow the basically out rules. The design is still aligned well despite the price tag being the odd one out. And that's just another form of contrast. The last golden rule of layout design is to use focal points. And I've touched upon focal points many times in the past, so I'm not going to go into detail today. However, a focal point is used on a design to pinpoint the start of a viewer's journey, and it's the main hotspot to grab attention and then to lure them into your design itself. It's almost like a kind of paint, if you want to think of it that way. Now, a focal point can be a shape, it can be an image, or even just typography itself. And on this example here, what do you deem to be the main focal point of interest? Firstly, it's a stark contrast in terms of color. It's a dark blue set against a color scheme of oranges and yellows, which are the complementary colors, and the total opposites in the color wheel. Also, as a design asset, it's very large, taking up a lot of space on the design. I noticed how the wing itself is pointing to the title and the text in the sense, which again, demonstrates how the viewer's eye can be directed and controlled. You start looking at the wing at the bottom, and then you move your eyesight up towards the text. This is a classic use of focal points in graphic design. So just remember, focal points are areas of dominance, and they do not have to be the main dominant feature. Focal points are areas of interest, emphasis, or difference within a composition that capture or hold the viewer's attention. So there is today's golden rules of layout design. And there is another one that I could have thrown in there, and that is hierarchy. And I do use hierarchy a lot to my graphic designs, but I touched upon that so many times. I didn't add it in today. Okay, this is all I have for you today. If you found this video helpful, please support this channel. Hit the subscription button and subscribe. Turn on your notification button for more content to come your way from us. Like, share, and comment. Thank you for watching ThriveSpace. Thank you for supporting our channel.